Just when you thought the 49ers were done adding to their coaching staff, they've done it again. It's another losing former head coach, plus top 5 starters to be replaced. And of course, we're going to give you our best Super Bowl bets coming up on the Gold Diggers Show, brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. What is good, everybody? Welcome to the Gold Diggers podcast and the Gold Standard and the Fans First Sports Network. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. She's Michelle Majuk. Michelle, the Super Bowl is days away. Can you feel it?
Hey, I can feel the Chiefs making us all sad again and annoyed and being like, what's the point of watching football when we know the ending year after year? But no, I'm going to be the biggest Eagles fan of all time on Sunday.
We have a ton of Super Bowl prop bets for you. I cannot wait to dive into some of these with you, Michelle. Plus, we're going to do something we've been sort of waiting to do, but news has kept popping up in the way. We're going to do our top 5 starters that need to be replaced on today's show. But before we get to any of that, something just popped across my Twitter feed that you don't like. I think is interesting for a couple of reasons. Longtime NFL head coach, according to Tom Pelissero, longtime NFL head coach Gus Bradley is joining the 49ers coaching staff. Of course, Robert Saleh was on Gus Bradley's staff in Seattle and Jacksonville, and now here we are. So, Michelle, your first reaction.
It's not that I didn't like it. I mean, it is what it is. I just said they love to hire these coaches that have always been losing, just bringing in the losing culture. That's their thing, I guess.
You want every coach on a team to be full of nothing but winners. How do you think these guys get to be assistant coaches? If Gus Bradley was any good, he'd be the head coach.
I know, but even as DC's not a winner. He's not on teams that are winning teams. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, obviously, if you're a winning head coach, you're going to remain a head coach. I'm just saying, as defensive coordinators or offensive coordinators or whatever, it would be nice if they could have been good at that. But the Colts always, losers. Just bring in that culture, I guess.
Lou Anarumo, I believe, is now the Colts defensive coordinator. This is not about 2025. This is about 2026 when Robert Saleh leaves to become a head coach. They're not going to have a coordinator search in San Francisco. I think it's pretty clear it's going to be Gus Bradley, a guy who they had interest in before Robert Saleh was officially hired, who runs the same system that the 49ers like, the Seattle system. This is it. So this is Robert Saleh insurance, essentially.
Great. I mean, I don't really know what to say. This is just a very 49ers move as of late, right? This is they don't take chances, and it's just kind of uninspiring.
Yeah, I mean, any guy that you replace Robert Saleh with is probably going to be a downgrade. I think there would be a big downgrade to Gus Bradley. But again, that's future Rob's problem, right? And let me tell you, present Rob has no problem screwing over future Rob. So I'm not going to worry about that right now. I think he could be a solid addition for this year. We know Saleh is going to be running the show. It's his defense. Gus Bradley can go get the coffee or do the cut-ups or whatever he's going to do. But he'll be on the staff for 2025, and I'll worry about anything that comes down the line later. Because chances are, if Gus Bradley has to take over, really good things have happened for the 49ers. So I would welcome that issue.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying, right, about Robert Saleh, is that if he has to leave as head coach, that means he did an awesome job as DC for a year with the 49ers. I'll take that. Where they're still in the Super Bowl window, I will take one great year with Saleh again for sure, and they can worry about the opening next year.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the Super Bowl window. George Kittle was on Pro Football Talk yesterday, and Florio asked him about that, and he said, I think you can kick the window down anytime. And you know what? If you've got a quarterback that you believe in and you've got good players on the roster, which the 49ers do, then you should be in a Super Bowl window. I don't even that term has come to annoy me because we've talked about it so many times with the 49ers. Just get into the playoffs, man. The NFL is freaking crazy. Just get into the playoffs and anything can happen. That's your window.
I mean, that would be nice. But I don't necessarily think that's true. There's some teams that can get into the playoffs and they have no shot, right? One of them is my Steelers. They're not pushing for a Super Bowl anytime soon. They're just not. Even when they sneak into the playoffs, there's a great chance they're going to get their butts kicked in the wild card round. Or the very best case scenario is they pull off a wild card win. So there's many teams like that across the league. Like, what we're saying about the Seahawks, if they were to get in, okay, cool. Like with Geno Smith, you're winning maybe a wild card round. Like that's your hope here. So you don't want to be one of those teams. So I do think there's only a handful of certain Super Bowl contenders. So when I call the 49ers still Super Bowl contenders, I truly think like they're one of those handful of teams that if they make the playoffs, then yes, anyone would be scared of them and they could make them run.
Well, the key part of that is you got to have a quarterback that you believe in. I don't think the Steelers really believed in Russell Wilson. I think he was just the guy that they settled for. I do think the 49ers believe in Brock Purdy. Everybody's been talking about Brock Purdy this week from Radio Row, and we'll see when and if that contract gets done. God, I hope it's done soon. I can't take the discussion anymore. But that's not what we're going to talk about on today's show. Today, before we get to our Super Bowl prop bets, which I promise you are coming, and I have a ton of them, and some of them are really fun. Let's get into something that Michelle brought up. Top 5 49ers starters that need to be replaced. Now, before we get into this, I just want to say I think there is a line of distinction between replacing a starter by benching him and replacing a starter by getting him off the team entirely. Some of these guys I'd like to see off the team entirely. Some of these guys I just want to see benched. I don't know if you have a distinction on your list, but I do think there's two separate issues there.
I don't have the distinction, but basically I don't want to see him on the field very much. So I guess it's pretty much the same thing.
All right. Would you like to begin? I'll give you honors because this was your idea.
I mean, I think we both have the number one as Jake Brendel, right? He needs to be off the team completely. And so I guess I do have that, but because you don't normally have like a clear backup center, right? It's normally like a guy that can be different positions in the interior, but Jake Brendel needs to be replaced. He was terrible. He was not very good 2 years ago. Terrible this past year. They need to find a true good center to grow with Brock Purdy. They need to beef up that interior offensive line, get this run blocking game going again. And it starts with fixing that center position.
I have Jake Brendel on my list as well. I thought he was going to be number one with a bullet on the list, but as I put it together, I actually have him at number 2. Brendel was not good last year, as you said, 23rd out of 64 centers. Remember, there's only 31 starting centers, so 23rd out of 31, that's obviously not good. The only redemptive thing for Jake Brendel is his run blocking grade, according to PFF, was 71.6, which was 12th out of all centers in the league. So
I don't care.
That's something, as opposed to the guy that I had number 1 on my list, which was Aaron Banks, who was bad at everything. So
he's not necessarily a starter you have to replace because he's not here.
He's going to be replaced. Yeah, he's a free agent. But you're going to have to replace him. So I actually had Banks 1, Brendel 2 on my list.
I will say I did put Aaron Banks, and I said, but I specifically said not with Spencer Burford, because this is my fear. They say, Aaron Banks, okay, we're not re-signing you, because why would they, right? Hopefully they definitely let him go and let him walk. But my fear is they say, well, we have his replacement already in Spencer Burford. So I actually have Spencer Burford on this list because that's my fear, is that they're just going to put him in. They need to obviously find a new left guard starter and it not be Spencer Burford.
I have no problem with Spencer Burford being on the team. I have no problem with him as a backup. I think he's a fine backup. I would agree with you. Go outside the organization, free agent, draft, whatever the case may be. We've already talked about Drew Dahlman on here in terms of center as the guy that they should go and target. Matt Mayoko has talked about Drew Dahlman. Yeah, I think that maybe you could find an internal candidate somewhere, but I still want competition for that internal candidate regardless. Like Ben Barch, great. Give him a shot. He looked good in a very limited role last year. Absolutely give him a shot, but bring in somebody else from the outside. So we've burned through 2 people on my list already, Brendel and Banks, and they're both on your list as well. Do you have a number 3?
Yeah, and the number 3, it's kind of a duo. I don't think they need to replace both. I think Malik Collins can stay. He did not grade out very well at all, according to PFF, missed a lot of tackles, but I do think the scheme could play into that. I do think he can be a solid enough defensive tackle starter as long as he has a much better guy to play with. And that guy is not Jordan Elliott. Jordan Elliott needs to be replaced. He cannot be a starter this upcoming year. And I mean, right now he's going to be edge into that, right? With Hargrave as a free agent, Elliott is the next man up, and he needs to not be a starter. 47.6 PFF defensive grade, 13th worst among 89 interior defensive linemen to play 400 snaps. He's just not, he's a fine backup to have, a rotational, maybe at best guy. He cannot be a starter. They need to find a true good defensive tackle that can stop the run, that can give you some pass rush. And Jordan Elliott is just a very below average player in this league. And he cannot be a starter.
So I had Javon Hargrave on my list, but again, like same vibe. Like they need to replace him because he was a starter and he's going to be leaving. Jordan Elliott, I don't think is good enough either. And I would love, of course, to get a defensive tackle that could rush the passer and stop the run and do everything, because why wouldn't you want that guy? But to me, the bare minimum from what I want from my defensive tackle, just do nothing. Don't move forward. Don't move backwards. Just stay where you are. Get in the way, essentially. Like if you could just do that as defensive tackle, you've got a spot on my team. Stay in the middle, clog up the run, and we'll go from there. Hopefully you can give us more, but if nothing else, just obstruct. That's what I want from my defensive tackle. How many times did we see last year, Michelle, the freaking sea would part and running backs would just run right through the 49ers defensive line, right up the gut, untouched for 3, 4, 5 yards past the line of scrimmage.
I will say I'm getting more and more jealous of the Rams, like with Les Snead. He apparently is a good GM, because for them to have 2 defensive rookie of the year candidates in Jared Verse, who won, and then Braden Fisk, who I thought deserved to win. And then like they build up that defense very quickly, that defensive line immediately. They lost Aaron Donald, and you didn't really feel the huge impact of it this year like we thought they were going to, because of they found 2 great defensive linemen right away. And then they're finding these offensive weapons so late, and Puka Nacua is a 5th round pick, and Kyron Williams so late. Like they're finding their starters on offense late. They're able to fix up their offensive line very quickly too. Like they're doing a good job, and the 49ers need to take note and start hitting on some of these draft picks. And that's what they're going to have to do, because you only have 1 first round pick, right? You're going to have to hit on some of these later guys to fill all of these holes. I said it again. And I don't know if you want to use the first round pick on a defensive tackle, but this class does have some good guys there that I'm going to have to research about.
Modella Time 1999 on Twitch says, load up on defensive tackles in the draft. It's full of them this year. Thank you. Shout out to the Twitch fam. Appreciate it. Clearly they need to do it. It's just incredibly frustrating. The Rams, apparently, it sounds like Matthew Stafford is not going to be back there next year. So that's going to be fascinating. I mean, to hear him talk about it, he's basically like, well, I'm controlling what I can control and this, that, and the other thing. So that is obviously a huge question mark in the division. Jimmy G's a free agent. What if Sean McVay decides to trade Matthew Stafford and keep Jimmy G? Oh, God. No, I actually think if they did trade Stafford, I think Zach Wilson would be a possibility there, but we'll see. This isn't a Rams show anyway. Yeah, I totally, especially like with the whole Sam Darnold thing, he's another option for them. Now that, boy, the more I talk through it, the more they got options. Anyway, okay. So we agree on the defensive line. You need a new defensive tackle. Clearly that's a starter that has to be replaced. Number 4 on your list.
Jake Moody. I mean, he could have been number 1, right? Jake Moody has to be replaced. So I guess technically after Jake Brendel, like I think these are 2 must replacements. It's Jake Brendel and Jake Moody. 2 Jakes. Jake Moody cannot be the kicker again next year. Like I know kickers go up and down. You can't take that risk. Like he can come back next year and be fine. How are you going to take that risk? You're going to wait to see in season if he starts making kicks. Are you going to wait till week 1 and he could possibly lose you a game? That game could be the difference between the playoffs and not. And then you have to find a kicker in season. That's way harder than finding one off like in the off season. So Jake Moody has to be replaced.
I'm going to say this, and I'm kind of ashamed of myself. I didn't even think of Jake Moody. I didn't have Jake Moody on my list, which is, you're right. Like, he's not good. He's not good. And I get it. Like, there's always the fear of him leaving and being good somewhere else.
Who cares?
He just hasn't been good enough for the 49ers. Forget the third round draft. Like, I don't even care about that. Just objectively, is this player that is on your roster good enough? And the answer is no. If he had to kick beyond 40 yards, he was terrible. He just wasn't good. So I didn't have him on my list. You're right. Absolutely. He's on my list. He's going to bump off, I think, number 5 for me on my list that I'll reveal who we had later. But Jake Moody, good call by you. I totally and completely agree. Number 4 on the list for me, and this is not somebody that I want cut, but it's somebody that has to be replaced in the starting lineup, and it's Deebo Samuel for
He's
me.
on my list.
I think it's clear, and I love this comment from Antonio, who says 1, Deebo, 2, Deebo, 3, Deebo, 4, Deebo, 5, Jake Brendel. He can't be a starter anymore. He just doesn't offer enough as a starter. 670 yards last year. That's middling in today's NFL. 3 receiving touchdowns. Ricky Pearsall had as many receiving touchdowns as Deebo Samuel. 5 drops. I'm not saying there's not a role for him on the team. There is. I think he's the number 1 kick returner. He's a really good kick returner. He can make plays. We've seen that. If you can get the ball in his hands in space, he can make some plays. He's not bad enough where he should be cut, but he is not a starting wide receiver when you can eliminate him with anybody in the NFL playing man coverage on him.
He's on my list too. He needs to be cut because at this time he makes the offense worse instead of better, right? Having and getting the ball in his hands typically does not lead to success anymore. He had the one good game against the Lions where he actually tried, right? But I mean, it's not working out with him anymore. He's actually a deterrent to your offense. And you're paying him a lot of money. He needs to be replaced. You would just have to try too hard to get the ball in his hands too, right? It can't just be one of those plays where Brock Purdy goes out there and just sees who's the open guy and goes, gets to check his reads and stuff like that. With Deebo, these plays are called for him. So you're kind of screwed if it doesn't work out because the play is called for him. He needs to be replaced. And also, I think he's a crutch to Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan maybe can be a little bit more creative once Deebo's gone.
You and Levin are in agreement on that. That's the exact word that Levin used when it came to Deebo Samuel was crutch.
Wow, and I didn't even listen to that.
You guys are starting to agree. I think that's like the first sign of the apocalypse. Mike Rotonda says that drop against the Rams was the game. Certainly didn't help. And I don't like anything from Deebo. I don't like the physical play we've seen on the field. I don't like his mental headspace when he's talking about I'm not getting opportunities when he was getting exactly the same number of opportunities as he's always gotten. He made it about him. I'm sorry, man. I don't want him as a captain. I don't want him as a starter, and that'll never happen. He might not be a captain, but he's definitely going to be a starter next year, especially because you don't know the status of IU, which is annoying, but he shouldn't be, and he certainly shouldn't be the primary guy going into any game. He should not a single game next year. It should not be dial it up for number 1.
Well, the issue is if they keep him and they don't trade him, then he is going to start, right? Because he's not the type of player that's going to take it. Like they're not going to be able to keep him on the bench. It's going to be a head case, a locker room issue. And like, you either need to trade him or he's going to be on the field. Like, he's not going to just sit on the bench. He's not going to just be a punt returner. Like, please, that's not what Deebo's going to do. He's going to then request a trade too. And then that's just going to make him lose even more trade value that he doesn't even have. So just trade him away now, figure it out, get whatever you can get and move on.
John Wallace says he should be removed as captain when he choked another player. That should have been an instant dismissal from the captain right there. It wasn't a good look for when he was trying to hit somebody. I don't know if it was Tabor Pepper or I think it was Tabor Pepper, but yeah, not a great look from Deebo Samuel for sure. Glad he's on both of our lists though. So then number 5 for me, I had Isaac Yiadom, nickel corner. Nickel corner has been an issue for the 49ers forever. They just can't seem to get it right. Since Jimmy Ward was playing nickel corner, that's really the last time they had somebody good there. It's been a problem. Isaac Yiadom stunk. The other guy, what's his name? I can't even. Isaiah Oliver stunk.
Oh,
It's been ugly. And you've got the Amador Lenore. You've got Renardo Green. Great. I love it. I like those 2 corners. That's certainly fine. But there's nobody there at CB3, and you're going to need one because you're in nickel most of the time.
Yeah, there's some good slack corners out there in free agency this year, specifically Mike Hilton. I just always loved him as a Steeler. He was good with the Bengals too. I don't know how old he's getting now because I guess he's been in the league for a while, but there's options out there. I don't know if that would be on my top 5 list. Like, wouldn't you rather replace Jair Brown than a slot corner?
No, because the slot corner I think has been worse than Brown. Brown hasn't been good. The slot corner has been, it's constant. Last year it was like, where's Isaac Yiadom? That's where the ball is going. Like 22, just throw it over and over again. It was maddening. And I know Jair Brown made a lot of bad plays also, but at least I've seen some good from Jair Brown at some point. I haven't seen anything good from any of the 49ers nickel corners since Jimmy Ward was there, K'Wan Williams, Emmanuel Mosley, like those guys were okay. They need to get back to that.
It is interesting that neither of us brought up Colton McKivitz because we were like so frustrated last year when they gave him the new contract. He's on the list of guys I would like replaced, but I don't know it's a necessity right now with how many different positions they have to kind of worry about more than right tackle at this moment.
Right. Like if you want to redo your front steps in your house, but you've got a leaky toilet in the bathroom, the leaky toilet takes precedence, like because it's going to cause more damage. The other positions are going to cause more damage, even though you're clearly not happy with Colton McKivitz.
McKivitz is like slightly below average, but you can get away with him for right now for one more year. Like there's other positions you got to worry about a lot more.
You're not going to be able to fix everything.
Yeah.
One off season. And by the way, see the way I did that without using the word holes?
I just did it. I just did it without using holes. I used positions instead. I was very proud of myself because I almost said holes again.
Michelle and I do a Bleacher Report show every Monday and Wednesday. And Michelle, talking about Myles Garrett, continues to talk about holes being filled and how to fill all the holes. And so I've been intentionally bringing it up every time. But finally, that we've both done better with that. So that's good. Good job by us. I appreciate that. But yeah, you can't solve everything one off season. It's too difficult unless you just like have the best draft class in the history of draft classes. But I don't think it's realistic to expect that. And so Colton McKivitz is probably going to be a guy that can get by for another year. At least he's cheap in terms of right tackles. I'll say that. You know what? Like you're not getting a premium from him, but he's not costing you a premium. So that's something.
That is something. And I'm also surprised you didn't. I guess you wouldn't say the top 5, I guess, couldn't be Leonard Floyd, but they do really need an edge. And if they get an edge, you would think they'd be a starter, but probably more of a rotational piece, I guess.
Yeah, and Leonard Floyd he was fine last year. He was fine. He wasn't amazing. He was what you hoped he would be. 8.5 sacks, right? 8, 9 sacks, but you need better. He can't be like, if he's your second best guy, your pass rush is not that good. By the way, Nick Ellert says, Michelle, how many holes can the Niners fill in free agency?
Well, if they trade for Myles Garrett, it'll be one hole that they fill. But if they don't, they can fill many holes.
Okay. Let's transition to our Super Bowl. You know who else I didn't have on my list? Kyle Juszczyk. Because
because you're not going to replace him, right? And he's not a starter, but
I would love to see him get replaced. Love it, because he's way too expensive. But he's another guy that's like, it's not a, there are other more pressing issues. So he didn't make my list. I was surprised.
And they can replace him with anybody, right? We wouldn't care. Like,
right.
It's a point that you don't need a fullback right now.
Yeah, you don't even need to have that position. And they're not going to replace him anyway. I don't think. It'd be it'd be an interesting thing if they did replace him. I'll say that, not because of like the on-field thing, but just because like was clearly in the Cabo clique. And so for the Niners to get rid of him would be very interesting. We'll see if it actually happens. All right. That's going to do it for our top 5 starters that need to be replaced. Let's get into the fun part of the show, Michelle. Super Bowl prop bets. Oh my God. There are so many that I had to stop looking at them before the show. I was like, there's just too much. I've already covered an entire page with prop bets. Let's get to your number 1. Lock it down. If nothing else happens, this is going to happen. Super Bowl bet.
Whoa. Well, that one is a strong one to come at me with. Okay, I have it though. It's, I used to love these last year and I've gotten away from them this year, but they are on the BetUS website this time for this game. Devonta Smith over 20.5 yards, longest reception. I used to love those longest receptions, and I used to be really, really good at them, right? So I'm going back to it for this game. Devonta Smith has had at least one 20-plus yard reception in 7 of 8 playoff games. Only game he didn't was in the divisional round this year against the Rams in Philly in that heavy snow. He's had a 20-plus yard reception, 11 of 14 games played this year with at least 4 targets. In 3 games against the Chiefs, he's had a 45-yard reception in the Super Bowl, a 41-yard reception in one other game, and a 37-yard reception in the other game. So he's played 3 games against the Chiefs, always had at least a 37-yard or longer reception against them. He's had multiple receptions of 20-plus yards in each matchup against the Chiefs. He's hitting a long one. I don't like his total yards line. I just think he's going to have like one long reception.
And what's the number?
20.5.
Ooh, interesting. I actually had a different Devontae Smith bet on my board, but you definitely convinced me there. I was going to go Devontae Smith touchdown plus 250. So here was the trouble I ran into. There were a lot of bets I thought were interesting, but the number was not good. It was a lot of like minus 115, minus 105. And for anyone that doesn't know, when it's minus, you have to bet more to win. You have to bet like $105 to win 100 if it's minus 105. That's not that great. I like bets that if they're going to hit, I'm going to actually make some money. So my Devontae Smith bet was anytime touchdown at plus 250. Yours is even better than mine. If I could scratch mine off, I think I would scratch it off and go with yours.
Yeah, because Smith, he hasn't scored a touchdown yet
in the
this
playoffs.
And even against the Chiefs, he's been really, really good. He actually has averaged the most receiving yards per game against the Chiefs in NFL history, in their team history. It's at he always has had over 99 receiving yards against them, 99 or more. So I like maybe his yardage, but he's never scored a touchdown against the Chiefs, even though always putting up big yardage games, which is interesting to me. Just I like AJ Brown more to score a touchdown in this game than I do Smith, but it could happen. I do expect this to be a really good Jalen Hurts passing game.
Well, it was last time. He put up over 300 yards in the last Super Bowl against the Chiefs. We can talk a little bit more about that, and maybe we'll get into it here because my lock, mark it down, going to happen, bet that I feel best about, and I tweeted about it yesterday. Will there be a scoreless quarter in the Super Bowl? It's plus 300. When I tweeted about it yesterday, I think it was like plus 320, something like that. It's gone down since then. I'm convinced. I don't think this is going to be a high-scoring game, Michelle. You've got Vic Fangio up against Steve Spagnuolo, two incredible defensive players. Plus, I think the fact that Jalen Hurts had so much success against Steve Spagnuolo last time, I think that Steve Spagnuolo is going to adjust. And I think that you don't prepare for any other game the way you prepare for the Super Bowl. Spags has already put in all that time against this offense. I think he's going to have adjusted. I think that they are going to not allow Saquon Barkley to go absolutely crazy. And if that is the case, it's going to be more on Jalen Hurts' shoulders. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. I'm convinced there's going to be at least one scoreless quarter. And at plus 300, yes, please.
So you think there's a scoreless quarter for both teams?
Correct.
That's not high enough odds for me at plus 300. I feel like that should be like plus 1,000.
The Chiefs' offense isn't that good either.
True. But the Chiefs, I feel like, normally start pretty slow, even on deep. Like, they're normally always starting behind. Like, they've been behind a lot coming into like the fourth quarter lately. I don't know. I don't like it. I'm just going to say that.
The over-under for the game is 48.5. I might take the under. I think it's going to be low scoring. I really do. I think the defenses are going to rule the day. And it'll be a one-score game, and you'll see Mahomes work some I mean, we've seen this Chiefs game a billion times, but that's what I would say. I'm going to say there's going to be a scoreless quarter, and that number just jumped out to me. So that's my strongest one.
All right. That's a bold one. I'm really loving AJ Brown in this game, and there is a fun bet out there for AJ Brown, 70-plus receiving yards and a touchdown at plus 233, or you can do AJ Brown at 75-plus yards, a touchdown, and Jalen Hurts to have 220-plus passing yards at 450, at plus 450. But I do think AJ Brown has a great game in this game. There's like this misconception that the Eagles' passing offense stinks. It's just they don't need it very often. That's all it comes down to. When they have to pass, they're completely fine. Like Jalen Hurts' numbers when he has over 24-plus pass attempts are like elite. So when they ask him to, he's great. It's just they don't have to ask him to do it very often. And then AJ Brown, it hasn't been playing in a lot of games where they pass that often. But in the 6 games, that's all he's played this year. 6 games that AJ Brown has played when the Eagles have had just 25 pass attempts, right? 25 pass attempts is not that much. 6 games this year that he's played because he missed some with injury. He has averaged over 100 receiving yards per game and has scored a touchdown in 5 of those 6 games. He gets at least 10 targets in almost each of those games too. He averages 10 targets per game, but his receiving yard line, I like his alternate at 80 plus at plus 134. And then anytime touchdown score is like plus 170. So you could do that separately if you want to, but I like just combining them together at 70 plus yards and a touchdown. And also his MVP odds and like across different sites plus 3,500. If the Eagles win, I don't think it's going to be Saquon Barkley to win MVP.
There is no chance a wide receiver wins MVP this Super Bowl, because if a wide receiver has good numbers, that means the quarterback has good numbers.
But Jalen Hurts is the perfect kind of quarterback that will not get MVP because he's not. Patrick Mahomes will never not win MVP.
Right.
He's going to win it. But Jalen Hurts isn't that type of guy. They will give it to a wide receiver.
I don't know. In history of the Super Bowl, I think there's only been 5 wide receivers to ever win MVP. It's a very.
Cooper Kupp just won one a couple years ago.
Cooper Kupp has one. I think Deion Branch has one. Jerry Rice has one.
Julian Edelman,
Lynn Swan. Yeah, it's a very small number, and now it's like friggin' quarterback or bust. I actually looked at some of those MVP numbers. Mahomes is number 1. Saquon Barkley has the second best odds to win Super Bowl MVP.
Talking about a running back hasn't won Super Bowl MVP since 1997.
Yeah, but Saquon Barkley is not just any running back.
But do you think he's going to be ripping off 50-yard touchdowns against?
No, I don't.
No. So I think they're going to have to win through the air. And I think if the Eagles win, it's going to be because A.J. Brown had a huge game. I
didn't say to bet on Saquon Barkley for MVP. I just said he's got the second best odds. I'm putting
that down as a bet. A.J. Brown, 3,500.
That's
MVP.
Ooh, you are confident. Mahomes is number 1 at plus 120. Saquon is at plus 225. Then Jalen Hurts is at plus 250. Is it plus 350 or plus 250? I can't even read the screen. It's plus 350. Man, how many times has a running back had that much better odds to win MVP than the quarterback? You don't see that very often, but that's the state of the Eagles offense, quite frankly. Kelsey, now, like, none of these guys have a shot. A.J. Brown is plus 2,800 to win MVP.
I don't know why you're saying he doesn't have a shot. I will say when Cooper Kupp won it, I was calling Cooper Kupp to win MVP because those are the type of quarterbacks you need to go after, the ones that the NFL is going to be okay not giving them MVP. And I would never say a wide receiver for the Chiefs. That's not going to happen. It's going to be Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is the golden boy. He's going to win it. But people just don't respect Jalen Hurts. They really don't. So if A.J. Brown were to come down with 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, I think he wins it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I just don't think that's going to happen. But
well, if you don't want to do that, take his receiving yards and his anytime touchdown.
Whatever you do it with BetUS. But if you don't want to make any of these bets, don't worry, because BetUS also has a casino. If you like slots or live casino dealers, take advantage of BetUS. Amazing 200% sign-up bonus up to $5,000 or 250% for crypto sign-up bonus up to $5,000. Michelle, I have plenty more, and we're not even into the fun ones yet. I've been telling you about this bet for the past 2 weeks, and it's been cashing easily. And you know what I'm going to say, Michelle. Saquon Barkley, 2+ touchdowns. It's plus 200. You still get ridiculous, incredible numbers on a guy that all he friggin' does for the Eagles this year is score touchdowns. Against Washington, he did it in the first quarter. You didn't even have to sweat to make this bet. Saquon, 2 touchdowns, could be rushing, could be receiving. He's getting it. Like, book it. The man is unstoppable.
And like I said, like, we don't expect him to pop off these big runs, but he could still score the touchdowns around the goal line. He's still that good. But this brings me into this question because I wanted to ask you. I think this is always a fun one. The first touchdown scorer jersey number, the over-under. So Saquon, the over-under is 15.5 for the jersey number. So if you think Saquon's going to be the first touchdown scorer, he would be, you take the over on the jersey number. But think about this. The over on the jersey numbers would be Saquon Barkley has over 15.5, over 16 for a jersey number. Travis Kelce, Kareem Hunt, Dallas Goedert, any crazy off the line play, those are all in there. The unders, though, would be Mahomes or Hurts having a rushing touchdown.
Yeah.
A.J. Brown or Devonta Smith, or Xavier Worthy, or pretty much any of the wide receivers for the Chiefs, Worthy, DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown, and then Pacheco, but it's normally Hunt who gets the goal line carries, and Hunt's over, Pacheco's under. There's more options for the under, but you have Barkley and Kelce and Hunt for the over.
That's how you know it's a good setup. That's how they know you are screwed. Like, don't take that bet, whatever you do, because that number is, man.
Which one? What way would you go?
I think I would go over. But
So
I
you
don't
get
feel
the
great.
Barkley or Kelsey.
Yeah, just because of the people involved. I think that is a very good one by you. Okay, I think I just went with my Saquon bet. So do you have another one?
I have a fun one, and we did this last year, I think, and I think you did it, and it came true. Any non-quarterback to throw a passing touchdown.
Yes,
And
I had that.
we had it's at plus 1300. We had the Juwan Jennings touchdown. This was not a thing that happened in Super Bowls up until all of a sudden recently, right? Before 2017, there was 3 total passing touchdowns by a non-quarterback in the Super Bowl. And then since 2017, we've had a Trey Burton passing touchdown from a tight end. We had the Joe Mixon passing touchdown in 2021 for the Bengals in the Super Bowl. And then Juwan Jennings, obviously, last year. So 3 since 2017, all of a sudden. We haven't seen one yet from the Chiefs. And all this time, they keep being in Super Bowls. I feel like Andy Reid might have a little wrinkle up his sleeve here. Or maybe the Eagles say, ooh, the last time we won the Super Bowl, we did this crazy play. So I could see this happening.
100%. I had it written down. Plus 1300. Juwan Jennings in parentheses last year. Andy Reid always has some crazy stuff, like for short yardage plays or whatever. Especially, here's the thing. If it is a defensive struggle, I feel like the odds of this go up. Because sometimes when a team can't get anything going, they're like, you know what? Let's throw a trick play at them. Our conventional offense isn't working. Let's see what we have. I would not be shocked to see Travis Kelce potentially throw a pass in this game for Kansas City, or Xavier Worthy. I could see, for some reason in my head, I could see Devontae Smith throwing a pass for the Eagles. I think at plus 1300, I'm throwing down $10. I have to do it.
I like it. I like it a lot. I really do. I don't know which team will do it, but I do think they're going to at least attempt it. Someone's going to attempt it. It's going to happen. Maybe a Dallas Goedert passing touchdown. Like, yeah, I could definitely see one of the tight ends throwing this, right? And it'd be really just fun if we could see the Philly special again, though, right? A Goddard to Jalen Hurts passing touchdown. That'd be pretty sick.
That would be just a nice little nod. You know, Doug Peterson would be doing the Leonardo DiCaprio meme, pointing at the TV as he was watching on his couch. That's a good one. Another number that jumped out at me, Patrick Mahomes anytime touchdown is plus 300. Now, he doesn't do the quarterback sneak like Jalen Hurts, but they put the ball in his hands, especially in the red zone. We saw it last week against the Bills. He did that zone read play. I could see Patrick Mahomes getting a touchdown. He scored a rushing touchdown against the 49ers in the Super Bowl. They love to call those option plays with him where they get him out on the move. And honestly, I think the whole time he's looking to pitch it. But a lot of times what happens is the defense is expecting him to pitch it and they play him to do that. And so he just holds it, and then sneaks into the end zone at the end. It's plus 300. That's a pretty good number.
It is. And I like his rushing line too. It's at 41.5. This is when he runs, right? He's not worried about his body anymore when it gets late into the playoffs and he's taking off and running. Mahomes and Hurts combined for 114 rushing yards in the last Super Bowl they played in. But Mahomes had 66 rushing yards in the Super Bowl last year against the 49ers, 44 in the Super Bowl against the Eagles the year prior. Like, he takes off and runs a lot in the playoffs. He's going to use his legs. He doesn't really Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco, they're not really getting it done, right? So when he's really their best rusher right now, I think what did he get in the AFC Championship? Didn't he lead the team in rushing?
He may have. Don't freak out about this one either. He'll get them at the end. He'll get the majority of them at the end of the game when the Chiefs are trying to kill the clock and need to pick up first downs. He'll have none all game, and then he'll gain 25 or 30 in the last 2 possessions. Mike Rotonda says, what's the over-under on Mahomes pump fake 25 yards past the line of scrimmage? 1,000. It's going to happen. He will absolutely pump, and it's going to work too, because it always works for every quarterback, not just Mahomes. These defensive guys, they got to have a little more awareness.
I wish you could bet on a late hit out of bounds on Mahomes. Ooh. That's going to happen. Or a phantom roughing the passer call. That's going to happen. But I really if there was one that you could bet on, late hit out of bounds, it's happening. It's happening.
What do you think of Travis Kelce's total? It's 63.5 receiving yards. Now, we have been telling you to take the Kelsey over in the playoffs on receiving yards, and it has been cashing. But he did nothing. I think he had 2 catches for 14 yards against the Bills in the AFC Championship game. Do you think that's a blip, or do you think we should stay away?
I'm kind of staying away because I don't know what to take from him, right? It's been such an up and down year. And I do think the Eagles defense is really good. And they obviously their focal point will be stopping Travis Kelsey. And I do think they're capable of limiting him. This was a fun one. You can do the guys against each other. And the more receiving yards versus Dallas Goedert or Travis Kelsey, I kind of like taking the Dallas Goedert over Travis Kelsey to have more receiving yards. It's at plus 112. So you're getting extra money there. And I do think Dallas Goedert has a really good game. So if you want to just take his line, it's around 52, I believe, 51.5. That's fine too. He actually leads this team. Dallas Goedert leads the Eagles in receptions and receiving yards this postseason. Wow. He had 85 receiving yards in the NFC Championship, 56 yards in the divisional round. And no defense allowed more receiving yards to tight ends than the Chiefs in the 2024 regular season. Dalton Schultz in the divisional round had 63 receiving yards against the Chiefs. And then the Bills never throw the tight ends, so you don't even look at that. But there have been 11 tight ends to see at least 5 targets against the Chiefs in a game this year. And 8 of them had at least 58 receiving yards. The 3 that didn't, or Schultz in the regular season, Dawson Knox and Juwan Johnson. But like Brock Bowers put up 140 yards against them. Isaiah Likely 111, George Kittle 92, Mike Gesicki 91, K-Dot in 77. Like you can go down this list. They're giving up yards to these tight ends. And I think Dallas Goedert's looking really good right now.
You convinced me on that one. I'd sign for that. All right. Now let's get to some fun ones, Michelle, because there are a bunch. It's the Super Bowl, obviously. I was super impressed to have all these up on the website. First of all, you can bet on the coin toss. Take tails. Tails has come up more than heads in Super Bowl history. It's minus 105. I'm just telling you, tails never fails. I'm a tails man. I'll always be a tails man.
Yeah, tails never fails. You never take heads.
Exactly. Okay. What color Gatorade will be dumped on the winning head coach? Orange is plus 250. I'm telling you, orange is the way to go. It's the most common Gatorade color in Super Bowls that gets dumped on head coaches. I'm a big orange Gatorade guy.
What are the other odds?
Okay. Well, let me go and grab that real quick because I was on another page, but I will go and search that up for you. But I think it's going to be orange. Now I know there are people that like literally go through and they try and see like during the year what color Gatorade the team has. I don't know if they get to pick their own, if there's like a Super Bowl color, but orange comes up like way more than you think. And of course, now that I'm looking for it, I can't find it, but I know orange is plus 250. I just trust me on that one.
I would go with green.
Green?
Yeah.
The Chiefs are not going to have green anything on their sideline, right? You would think like you can't have the other team's color.
No, but I think the Eagles are going to win.
Oh, I think you're absolutely crazy. All right. So sorry I couldn't get the other odds, but I'm going to go orange at plus 250. Will Taylor Swift be shown during the national anthem? Yes. 1,000,000,000% yes. It's minus 120, but there is no way Taylor Swift does not get shown during the national anthem. I don't care that it's minus 120. You're not losing that bet.
Who's singing the national anthem?
I don't know.
If it's one of her friends, they'll definitely show her. I don't know. They might not. I think the NFL is starting to get like very, worried about people hating them for showing Taylor Swift too much. So I think they'll try to like limit it to when Travis Kelsey does something good or they score, they'll show Travis Kelsey or they'll show Taylor Swift. I don't think you're going to see her in the national anthem.
Oh, you're crazy. By the way, I found the Gatorade. So purple has the best odds at plus 175. Then green, lime, yellow is plus 200.
Who drinks purple Gatorade?
Yeah, I don't know. There are people that do. Blue is plus 600. Red, pink is plus 800. Orange is plus 250. No liquid to be dumped on the coach is crazy. Clear or water is plus 1,200. You said green is green is minus 200.
I was going to say, yeah.
Minus, so that's the heavy favorite. So I guess you're looking smarter than I am. There's a shot.
Because they put it all together, green, lime, yellow.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the normal go-to Gatorade. And it's also a color of the team that could win. You would think that the Eagles would have green Gatorade, right?
You would think. By the way, you're so wrong about that Taylor Swift thing. It's book it. Book
I
it
don't think we're going to see her during the national anthem.
at the Super Bowl. Are you nuts? All the Swifties are going to be what people watch the Super Bowl that don't watch football any other time of year, which I would imagine there's a lot of Taylor Swift fans that are like that. People want to go. People want to see what she's wearing. By the way, you can actually bet, will Taylor Swift be wearing a jacket made by Christian Juszczyk? Yes is plus 200. No is minus 300. So then they're not expecting, I guess, Christian Juszczyk to get the dubs on Taylor Swift again, but you can literally bet that.
That's wild, man. Can you bet if she'll come out during the halftime show?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
I think she will.
There's literally every Taylor Swift bet you could possibly imagine is in this thing. What will she be wearing? Will she be shown? Will she come out on stage at halftime? Will she get engaged to Travis Kelce after the game?
No.
There could be I think there's like will she get engaged? Will the Chiefs win and she get engaged? Like it's 1,000 Taylor Swift bets you could make on this thing.
Imagine Travis Kelce losing and then proposing. That'd be so stupid.
But
also, he's not going to propose at the Super Bowl. Like,
she's already engaged. Isn't that why she's wearing the gloves during the game so you can't see the ring?
I don't know, but or it's just cold out. But also, no, he's not going to propose at the Super Bowl.
All right, if you say so. Couple other ones. You can bet on the color of Tom Brady's tie, which is just insane. Blue, I guess, is the favorite there at plus 150. You got to think he's going to go blue, right? Like sort of a subtle nod to the Patriots.
I don't know. I don't
Blue
care.
is plus 150.
I'll go with black. He'll wear black.
Black is plus 500.
Whoa. Damn.
First Super Bowl. We'll see what Tom Brady has.
I feel like black is a classy look, and he's a classy man.
Okay, how about this one, Michelle? What happens first? Jason Kelce shotguns a beer or Jason Kelce takes off his top?
Well, you got to have your top off if you're going to shotgun a beer. You can't. That's the only order it can go in. I mean, not as the me, but like as a big guy, he's definitely taking off his shirt before he does the shotgun.
Ooh, Chewy brings up a good point. Chew Dog says Brady's going to wear silver and black because he's part owner of the Raiders. That's an interesting call, Chew Dog. I don't know. I could see Jason Kelce shotgunning the beer and then taking the shirt off afterwards as like celebratory.
No, I think he already has his shirt off, I think, and then does it.
Jason Kelce attire. You could go all Eagles is minus 400. All Chiefs is plus 1,200. That's never going to happen. Or both, half and half, plus 200.
All Eagles. I think he's just going to try to mess with his brother. He'll probably be somewhat rooting for his brother, but I don't think he's worried about hurting Travis Kelce's feelings. Like they're best buds. He's just going to mess with them. He's going to be wearing all Eagles stuff.
Yeah, I think I would go all Eagles. And plus, like, Travis has multiple rings already. So it's not like, well, if he loses this one, he'll never get it. Like, no.
The thing is, Jason Kelce, I do think will wear all Eagles stuff. But in the back of his mind, do you think he would not want to see them win? Because he's like, damn, if I just stayed one more year, I would have got it.
Yeah, it's got to be somewhere in there. It's rattling around the noggin somewhere. I think that's only natural, right?
He definitely didn't think they're going to get back here this year, right? Like, I don't think you retire if he thought they were going to get back here. So true. I think he's probably even surprised with how successful they've been. And it probably hurts a little bit that he didn't stay for this one more year. Do
you think that they could give him a ring anyway? Teams do that a lot of times.
But do you want that? I wouldn't want that.
Right. I know. It's like, I got a ring for watching the Super Bowl.
No, if I'm not a part of the team, I don't want a ring. I don't want a pity ring. I don't want you to pity me.
Pity ring. That's very good. Okay. Do I have any more fun ones? Just to let you know, like the level of detail on this, you can literally bet. So President Trump is going to do an interview during, that they're going to show during the broadcast. You can bet how many times he's interrupted during the interview. Like that is the level of depth with this Super Bowl bet. It's like no other sporting event and that's not a political thing. I'm just saying, like, that's a thing that you can bet on.
That is wild. I mean, there's some really irresponsible Super Bowl bets. I will say that. Like, there's a lot of ways you can lose money. I tend to think, sticking with the player prop bets is probably the smarter way to go because there's actual analytics behind it and stats you can look up. Unlike the Gatorade, I mean, a lot of those, all of betting is chance, right? And you have to be pretty lucky to hit, but you're really taking a chance on some of these bets. It's just you have nothing to back it up. No evidence why you'd be choosing things.
Last fun Super Bowl prop bet that I want to get into. Who is shown crying during the national anthem first? Chris Jones or Nick Sirianni?
Nick Sirianni.
Sirianni is plus 200. Chris Jones is minus 300.
Was it Chris Jones that was crying so hard during the AFC Championship?
He always cries. There's not only that, there's a bet. It's how long will they show Chris Jones crying during the national anthem? And the over-under is like 3.5 seconds. So like they expect the waterworks to be coming.
Yeah, I guess Nick Sirianni might take a little bit to get his going, His is like forcing. It's like, come on, cry, damn it.
He's got the eye drops there right before he runs out on the field.
Yeah. You could just tell the players out there trying so hard to cry. It's like, guys, just relax.
Well, also Chris Jones, like, this is your billionth Super Bowl. Like, does it really hit you that hard? Like, you kind of done this before a little bit. This is literally 3 in a row.
Maybe, I mean, how much are athletes superstitious, right? Maybe that's his thing. He's like, this is when we win. I need to get a little cry out before the game. And you know what? If it makes him feel better, then do it, sir. But also, can we talk about all these sicknesses going around the Eagles locker room? I swear to goodness, the football gods are obsessed with Patrick Mahomes.
It's sickness going around the locker room. Meanwhile, Patrick Mahomes is right by the air vent, coughing into the air vent to try and pass that along. Look, I've said it a million times. Until Patrick Mahomes loses in the Super Bowl, in the playoffs, like on this little run that they're on, I can't pick against him. I can't do it.
I mean, I'm an idiot for doing it. I get that. Because even if they were to lose the game, right? Patrick Mahomes is trying to go down and score a touchdown, down by 5 points or whatever, and he throws a pick. The refs are throwing the flag, and he's going to get a redo. So it doesn't really matter. You're right. The Chiefs are probably going to win.
Oh, boy. After the Super Bowl, I'll be live with Levin Black. We're going to do an instant reaction show, so please join us here on the Gold Standard YouTube channel. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe. Thank you, Michelle, for all your hard work during the year. Not that we're going anywhere. We'll still be here every week, but I do appreciate all the hard work you have put in. Thank you to BetUS, and just thank you for sponsoring this video. Just as a reminder, remember, BetUS has a casino. If you like slots or live casino dealers, take advantage of BetUS' amazing 200% sign-up bonus up to $5,000 or 250% for crypto sign-up bonus up to $5,000. I asked Levin, I'll ask you, what is your go-to Super Bowl food?
Buffalo chicken dip, for sure. I mean, that's just my favorite. Chicken wings, any dips, and then chicken wings and pizza. The norm.
Big dip day. I agree.
Big dip day. I mean, I love a chip and dip. But my issue is I don't let myself have it because I cannot control myself. Like, I will keep going back and keep until I get myself so sick. So I really try to limit that. But on days like this, during the Super Bowl, I let myself go ham. And it's, chips and dip, man. So good.
My friends and I have this like Mexican taco dip that we make, and literally like you eat it and then we all take a break and then we know we're all coming back to it like 25 minutes later. So like, it's like, there's like stages of it, but you're going back.
Man, it's so good. Any of it. I don't even care what it is.
Enjoy the Super Bowl, everybody. Enjoy it safely, responsibly. If you need to get a ride from somewhere, please get a ride. Don't do anything stupid or crazy. And we'll talk to you after the game.
Bye, y'all.